Welcome back to She Can, where role models lead by example by telling their stories, their insights and experiences to guide and support others, because it's easier to be what you can see. And I'm really honored and excited to talk to Jo Piazza today. Jo, welcome to She Can.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
You're a best-selling author, an award-winning journalist, an editor, a columnist, and a podcast host of your own podcast called Under the Influence. You wrote 13 books, which is amazing. Your newest book, Everyone is Lying to You, is coming out this July. It's a Tradwife murder mystery that you'll tell us more about in a minute. You are quoted as a master storyteller. You write in a beautiful, razor-sharp way. And I would love to know, all of us would love to know how you feel you got to where you are today.
It's such a good question. And, the path has been very winding and unexpected. I mean, my career today, in some ways, it is exactly what I would have wanted it to be when I graduated from college about nearly 25 years ago. And in other ways, it's completely different. I started out as a journalist, although I got a degree in economics, and then I went to journalism school. I worked at the Daily News as a newspaper writer. I thought I would be in newspapers or print magazines my entire life. I mean, that was the path, and that was kind of the dream for a really long time. And that world completely changed. It was just completely upended by social media and the internet. And I found myself constantly pivoting and constantly adapting in a lot of ways that were uncomfortable, right? I had to get very good at being a one-woman production studio, shooting video, making social media, shooting audio, doing all of the things all at once. When I started coming up in this business, I was like, you just write stuff, you report things and you write things. And all of a sudden I was a one-woman media company. And, I moved over into magazines, but again, I was helping those magazines transition to the internet and to social media. I went to a tech company. I went to Yahoo because all of a sudden they were in charge of content. And we launched a digital travel magazine that was really great, but it was Yahoo. So of course the money ran out eventually. And then I began pivoting into books and podcasts. And I really believed for a long time that I was going to work for a media company, work for one of these big media companies. And now I've created a media company of my own. Like, that's how I look at this. I look at myself as a storyteller in a lot of different mediums, and also as the CEO of my personal media brand.
Yeah, Jo, and you do that so incredibly well and authentically and vulnerably. And these conversations are much needed and full of joy, and just meet people where they're at, which we love. Jo, so tell us a bit more about your writing process and how you wrote 13 books that are wildly different. I mean, you have a new Tradwife thriller coming out. Everyone is Lying to You. We're going to talk about that afterwards. You have We Are Not Like Them with Christine Pride, which is a Black American writer, and you are exploring the race topic in America. You wrote a political novel. You wrote a memoir. You wrote a novel about celebrity. You wrote about nuns, if nuns ruled the world. You wrote beach reads. So how do you sort of latch on to a topic and then think, I think I'm onto something and this could turn into a book?
I have to be wildly interested in something to even pursue it as a book, as a podcast, as something that I want to devote my time to, because, time is also a really precious commodity. And, if I'm not very invested in the subject matter, I usually don't pursue it as one of my big projects. And all of my books are wildly different. One of the things that I do think is a connecting thread, and sadly, this is not a section of a bookstore, is, badass women defying the odds, badass women breaking down barriers in the world, from, incredibly innovative feminist nuns, which is If Nuns Rule the World, to Charlotte Walsh Likes to Win, which is a novel about a woman running for Senate, which came out nearly 10 years ago, and still is very prescient today in a way that I'd hoped it wouldn't be. The work that I did with Christine Pride on We Are Not Like Them, was really focused on social justice, but also two women grappling with what that meant through the social justice movement.
Yeah.
And so I do think that there's a common thread. It's just I'm not writing the same beach read every single year.
Yeah.
Right. Which I do think a lot of publishers would love it if I did. They'd be like, great, can you write the same book set on like the same beautiful beach every single year, but make it different enough that people are going to want to read it? And I love those books. It's just, there's so many things that I want to explore and so many topics that I'm just drawn to doing a lot of different things.
Joe, and I think it goes back to who you are and through the phases of what interested you. And I love that because it really paints a sort of roadmap of your last, I don't know, 20 years or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So tell us about the new book that is coming out in July. It's about
Oh,
tradwives and social media. And that's potentially a really difficult proposition, right? And let's
yeah.
talk about the book, and then let's talk a little bit about this topic of tradwives and social media, which you are really a big voice on.
Yeah. Somehow I've become the world's leading expert on tradwives these days, which is
Yes.
not something I set out to do, but is actually the perfect intersection of
Mm,
celebrity, media, and economics. So maybe it does make a ton of
mm,
sense. I've been covering the influencer economy for 5 years on Under the Influence. I became interested in it when I had my first daughter, and I was suddenly being served all of this content from mom influencers who were trying to sell me things. And I wanted to understand this business and how it worked. And I truly believe that influencers are the new celebrities. More eyes are on the small screens in the palms of our hands than are on most shows on Netflix these
yeah,
days. They have
yeah,
more power than traditional celebrities. And so I think they deserve to be covered as a business story. And a couple of years ago, I started to see the slow creep and then the very quick rise of something called tradwives, which are conservative influencers who are kind of cosplaying a version of 1950s sitcom TV mom mixed up with Laura Ingalls Wilder, homesteady prairie core, but strip away all of the labor, strip away all of the work, and just make it beautiful and add in these themes of women should submit to their husbands. A woman's only role is being a wife and a mother. That should be her sole purpose.
mm,
And the imagery is very beautiful. And it can be very aspirational too, again, because it doesn't show any of the hard work or the realities of these lifestyles. And it did very well on social media. And these women were also all trying to sell you something. They were trying to sell you their homeschooling or homesteading courses. They're trying to sell you their egg aprons. They're trying to sell you meat boxes. And these are capitalists. These are entrepreneurs who are pretending they're not working in order to manipulate the Instagram algorithm. And so I became fascinated with them. I've been talking about them, for about 2 years now. And last summer, I was like, you know what? This world is just rife for satire, for a thriller, for a murder mystery. And I started playing around with this idea because I
mm,
say this all the time when I'm covering influencers. Everyone is lying to you. What
yeah,
you see on the screen is not anyone's reality. They are also a media company. They are also creating content for you to consume and for you to buy things. So they're lying to you in order to get you to do that. And that title stuck in my head and stuck in my head. And from that, I created this tradwife murder mystery, where, there is a little bit of tradwives starting to murder their terrible husbands. And I do think it's exactly what America wants and needs right now. In fact, the whole world wants and needs this because it is a lot of fun and also like gives you a lot to think about.
yeah,
But I wanted it to come out very quickly because the moment for this is now. So I
yeah.
wrote it in 3 months last summer. It was a lot. I was doing
Wow,
2,500 words a day,
wow.
which is more than I usually do. I usually write about 1,000 to 1,500 words in a day of like book stuff.
Mm,
That's what my brain can focus on.
mm.
And I pumped it out, and my publishers were like, great, we can publish it in 9 months. We made that happen. It's coming out in July. And it's also coming out as a paperback so that it will be in more places where people will discover books that maybe need to read this book. It'll be in Target, it'll be in Walmart, it'll be in the airports. And we made that decision because I want as many people to read this book as possible.
Yeah. Um, Joe, so tell us a little bit more about this topic and why you think it is so unbelievably difficult to get roped into this perfect world of beautifully edited women with tons of children peddling their wares, you know, telling us basically the olden days were the better days and therefore this is the right way, and reframing it a little bit as if this is the new offshoot of feminism and this is what we should all go back to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not even a little bit. I mean, they are framing this as the new version of feminism, and they're making it a very aspirational version of feminism for young women who look at the women on the left, the like girl bosses, the lean in queens, and they're like, you're burnt out and fucking miserable. I don't want your life. I want this soft, pretty life. But the thing is, again, everyone is lying to you because that soft, pretty life is unattainable. That soft, pretty life only works if you have a ton of generational wealth, right? If you are working your ass off behind the scenes. It is not just happening by magic if you're a homemaker and like taking beautiful pictures of yourself, because homemaking is work. And to take care of children, that is time away from creating your media empire. So again, it is all such bullshit, but politically it's really damaging, because I know for a fact that young women are looking at this content and saying, yes, I want this kind of life. And then you can say to them, okay, you know what would make this kind of life possible for you? Things like subsidized childcare, things like paid family leave, things like equal pay in the workforce, and laws protecting your job if you leave to go raise your children. And they're like, no, those are communist socialist values, because they're being brainwashed by these accounts. This is a political issue. Again, it's like cloaking this idea of feminine subservience, which I don't think these women even believe, but they want to make money off of it, cloaking it in beautiful pictures of running barefoot through a hen house. Well, we all know that no one should run barefoot near chickens because your feet will be covered in shit, but they never show that shit.
Yeah. And I must say that, you know, I couldn't agree with you more, but I get drawn into the ballerina farm stories
So
all
pretty,
the time.
okay?
And I love when you admit that's actually happening to you, because all of us look at it and think, oh, gosh, it's beautiful and she's beautiful. And, you know, the whole thing is so harmonious, it seems. And this exactly what your book is about. They are all lying to all of us. And actually, the win of this current government or administration of yours has used these people so wisely, right? They've been incredibly clever in using social media and influencers to win this election. And with Roe v. Wade being rolled back and women losing their bodily autonomy in most states, or you know, this is going much further than any one of us has ever thought. This is now a really dangerous group, actually. And this is something you talk about. So, Joe, talk to us a bit about your podcast. You're more than 270 episodes in. I love your podcast. I think it covers so many important subjects. Talk to us a little bit about what really matters to you and how you want to matter.
Yeah, I mean, Under the Influence began as a deep dive into the world of influencing and the world of the mom internet. And it's grown past that. You know, now we have a lot of guests on that discuss all topics of what it is like to be a woman in the world, from being sold to online to a woman impacted by the current state of politics. And I love that you just said, you know, the tradwife phenomenon is political and it is a slippery slope. And, you know, one of the best examples of that is that we look at their messaging and it's like, oh, you're talking about how having children is beautiful and motherhood is beautiful. And then, oh my God, in the next breath, you're telling young women to get off birth control. And so then that makes a whole generation of young women think that they shouldn't be on birth control any longer. And I mean, like, this is a spectrum, and it is happening more and more every day. And it's one of the things that I want Under the Influence to show. You know, what is it like to be a woman in the world right now, to be an ambitious woman? What are the challenges to dealing with that, and how can we overcome them? And I try to do that with the podcast, and I also try to do it with the book. I mean, this book is in a lot of ways a Trojan horse. It is a lot of fucking fun. Okay. Like, the book is a blast. You can sit down and breeze through it in one sitting. My friend Nora McInerney, who's also an amazing podcaster, said she read it in one flight. with her kids while ignoring her actual 4 children on this plane. And so it is fun, but it is also going to give you a lot to think about in terms of how we should be consuming this social media and in terms of who we give our money to when we're buying things off of social media.
Yeah, and not only money, but it's really who do we give power to, right?
Yes.
What stories do we listen to, and what stories do we decide actively not to listen to, or which ones do we actively want to listen to? And Joe, I remember listening to an episode that came out not a long time ago. I think it was with Tyler, the Tidy Dad, and you
Oh,
said,
Tidy Dad. Tyler Moore is the best. Yeah.
I mean, he is so lovely.
He's
So
so
you
lovely.
said, as women, we are watched and judged, and we need to be careful as hell. Talk
Mhm.
to us about that a little bit, because that's a really important notion. And in 2025, we still have to talk about it.
We still have to talk about it. I mean, a woman who speaks her mind anywhere in the world, but particularly in the digital sphere, we are constantly being watched and judged. I mean, my comment section, I turn it off most of the time or I don't read it because
Mm,
literally anything I do is judged by both sides of the political spectrum
yes.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
I could say something like, "Oh my God, Ballerina Farm looks really hot in this video," and people are like, "Don't objectify her body," and I'm like, "Fuck you, okay? Like that's not even objectifying. If someone wants to call me hot, I'm all for it, okay?" Um, and so I get attacked that way. And then if I say anything like, "Hey, when we talk about the choice to be a stay-at-home mother, we should also talk about the ability to get back into the workforce when and if you need it," then I'm called a communist and socialist. Like I can't win, right? Like anything a woman says is going to be judged. And Tyler agreed. He gets a lot of it because he does a lot of things online. And Tyler is a happily married straight man with 3 daughters. He's also a New York City public school teacher. And yet he gets attacked as not masculine. He gets called feminine all the time because he
Mm.
does things that a lot of people believe a woman should be doing, like cleaning toilets. I've like pretty much never cleaned a toilet in my entire fucking life. Okay, my husband does it. I'm training my children to do it too. I don't want to do it. But I
I
also,
laughed out loud when you talked about that, the both of you on the
yeah,
podcast. I had to laugh so much.
yeah. I also like, put a roast in a crock pot this morning and I was stacking wood the other day. Like,
Yeah.
we can have all the things and be all the things. And the ideas about masculinity and femininity that you get attacked for from again
Mm.
both sides and like the left is not blameless in this
No, no.
because their version of rigid cancel culture brought a lot of people to the other side of the spectrum and they like need to own up to that
Yeah.
and it sucks in a lot of ways because these right-wing influencers look so happy and it
Mm.
makes sense that these young girls are like, none of you look happy. And I'm like, I am happy. I'm like a 9 out of 10. If I didn't have to like market my book all the time, 24/7, I would be like a 10 out of 10. I love my fucking life, but I love the ability to like spend time with my kids and also have full-time childcare so that I can make money. So like, and that is the reality. And that's the reality that most people don't talk enough about.
Absolutely. And how much fun it can be, Joe. And you are a ton of
Yeah.
fun. And that's why it's so unbelievably uh joyful to follow you, to consume your content, to read your books, to listen to your podcast, because this rigid, cancel culture of the left, where everyone is a bit miserable, only ever against things and against ideals of the right, I am really, really missing a sort of middle of the road center approach. And I think this is what is
Same.
needed in order to turn this around. Where are the people who come together? Where is the opposing document to Project 2025? Where are the
Mm-hmm.
people coming together that are for something? Where is the big vision of the left? It's
Right?
really
Where's the
missing.
big vision for what feminism is today? I mean,
Yeah.
this is what I talk about all of the time. I was earlier today, I was wearing a t-shirt that is so beat up. I probably shouldn't wear it because like my actual nipple is like showing through a hole in it, but it's from the 2012 campaign. And it says rednecks for Obama against it. And I
Mm.
wouldn't wear it out in public, not just because of the nipple hole, but because people like people from my own party would be like, "Oh, I don't think we say rednecks anymore." But like, I'm like, we used to be the party of fun. Like
Yeah.
we used to have a good time. And
Yeah.
I will tell you, if you look at any of the conferences from like young conservatives, like Turning Point USA's Young Women's Conference that they just had, they look like they're having a blast, and they are.
Mm,
Okay. Again, they're feeding them a pack of lies because their policies are not going to make anyone's lives any better, but they're performing it really well.
yeah. Yeah. It's all the performative nature
Mm-hmm.
of the whole thing. Joe, so how do you've just talked about it, how in the world can we redefine our, you know, feminist movement and be more connected and have a global sisterhood where we really back each other up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's being more inclusive instead of exclusive. I do think that an older version of feminism, and this isn't calling any one person out, but it made the tent smaller and smaller. It's like you can
Yeah,
only be a feminist if you believe in this. You can only
yeah.
be a feminist if you support literally all of these policies instead of being like, there's a lot of different ways to support women
Mm,
in the world. There's a lot
mm,
of different choices that are valid.
yeah,
Like feminism for a long time really push the idea of like, if you're not a boss babe bitch, you're not doing it right. And I know a lot of women who are stay-at-home mothers who felt really excluded from that.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have to be supportive of all women's choices and remind these young women that the choices are available to them, that a better life is available to them if they have laws supporting them. The ability to get the birth control so you can have the kid when you
Mm,
want the kid, the ability to access abortion and reproductive care so you can actually have the ability to plan your life. Even universal basic income provided to mothers when they want to take a career pause. So you're not dependent on a man who is like never going to be the fucking savior. Okay. Like no man in history has been the ultimate savior of women. It has always been women supporting themselves or women supporting each other. And I say that as someone raising a good son and married to a good husband, but a man is not the plan. And
yeah.
so, like, we need to offer a bigger tent, more inclusivity, also better language and better branding around what we're bringing to the table, and show the good parts. Like, I want everyone to show the messy parts because I think that's really important. But at the same time, show the joy, have more fun with it, because no one is having fun on the left right now. And it's not attractive to a young cohort of voters. And we are losing young voters in a way that the left has not in years.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Joe, so tell us a little bit about those main learnings after decades of building your own personal brand. What can
Yeah.
you share? How do we do this?
I mean, I think we have to be constantly adaptable, right? Like we live in a world that does not have a single career ladder. It's a career jungle gym and it's a constant scramble all over. And sometimes you're going down and sometimes you're going up. And sometimes one of the bars is going to break and you're going to have to figure out how the fuck to make it work. I'm pivoting into all of the new things except for TikTok. TikTok is dumb, okay? But like I'm constantly trying out new mediums and new ways to reach people because I think being a storyteller, you have to constantly go where people's attention is. And right now their attention is indeed on social media and on Substack, which is why I launched a Substack. It's why I nurture my Substack and why I spend so much time interacting with my audience too, because I also think that that is the best way to grow as a brand. It's to listen, and to listen to what people want and where the conversation is going. And yeah, I mean, it's hustling and being flexible. Like I'm not the best writer, I'm not the smartest person, but I will hustle faster and harder than anyone. And I think that is just what you have to do to survive at this point.
Yeah, Joe, but you're very bright and you're also very funny and you're authentic and vulnerable. So no, I don't agree. I mean, I really think you have a power combo. You've got a good cocktail of really good things. Um, Joe, so tell us your sacred habits. What are the habits that make you sort of aligned with yourself to be able to produce all this great
Yeah.
content?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sleep freak. I'm like a 9 hour a night person. If I don't get 9 hours a night, I'm a disaster the next day. So I genuinely try to get in bed by like 9 o'clock if I can, and try to sleep as much as possible. With our third baby, my husband is the one that gets up with her in the middle of the night because he can fall asleep really easily and I can't. And so I'm
Mm,
like, you know what? This is all you, this one. I'm not doing this part of it again. Because I need sleep to be productive. Also setting boundaries, but then setting those boundaries around how much I work and so that I have time to be in community and to socialize with the people that I really want to spend time with. So I try to like make sure that I'm spending time with friends that I love as often as possible, especially now in the summer. You know, yesterday we had a great pool day with the kids and our friends, and then we had a pizza making dinner, and tonight we'll go to our friend's bar down the street. And like those things are a priority to me because I feel like they like fill my cup instead of draining my cup. And also I have a really set to-do list every single day too, and I make sure that I get it done. I prioritize my writing first thing in the morning and then all of the other things, and then working on my marriage, my partnership. You know, Nick and I are constantly going through ups and downs and figuring out who does what in our world and what does equality look like for us, because it's going to look like something different for every family. And, you know, that's something else that I think the right has been really good at branding, because it looks easier when you have very distinct gender roles. It's not, but it looks like it is, right? Because you don't have the constant scramble of who does what. But at the end of the day, there's a massive power imbalance because, you know, one person is the one who has this purpose outside the home, who has the access to money, who has the access to capital, and that never ends well. I've literally never seen it end well, to be honest, in one way or another. And so, yeah, that is a struggle, but it's something that I'm constantly working on.
Jo, and what would you say are you most proud of to date?
You know, I'm most proud of building a life that I'm grateful for. Like I said, I'm a 9 out of 10 on the happiness scale. I'm really happy with how my life turned out. I'm happy with my level of work-life balance. I feel really grateful that I get to do the job that I do as a storyteller, and that I'm well compensated for that job, because that is not always the case. And I have this great balance of 3 wonderful kids and a husband that I like most of the time, which is all anyone can ask for, which is balanced with me having a really strong network of childcare so that I can do all of these things at once. And yeah, I feel really happy about the whole picture of a life that I've built.
Yeah, thank you for leading with that, Jo. And your plans and goals. So this book is coming out in July. Everyone is lying to you. People pre-order. You have a book tour coming up. You talk about it beautifully and authentically, and what it means for you to go on this book tour. So tell us a bit about your plans and goals.
Yeah, so the book is coming out in 3 weeks, which is crazy. So I'm just, you know, on a crazy marketing bend right now to get everyone ordering. Everyone is lying to you. And then I'll be on book tour for about a month. I think we're going to 20 different places at this point, which is going to be awesome. I'm zooming into book clubs all over the world and doing a bunch of media appearances. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I think this book is such a delicious beach read, but at the same time, it gives us a lot to talk about, which is what I did last summer with the Sicilian Inheritance, right? It was just like a really juicy family mystery that whisked you away to Sicily. But then I was like, oh my God, let's talk about how women are treated in the world 100 years ago and today. And this is going to do the same thing and just be a blast. And, you know, book touring can be really tiring. So I have to make sure to take care of myself. You know, that means like I do work out every day. I like have to protect my time and my space, and really most importantly my sleep. So I'm just kind of trying to like ease into that right now, knowing that it's going to be go, go, go for about a month and starting in July.
Amazing, Jo. What takeaways would you like our listeners to have from your story, Jo?
I think that, you know, you do get to choose the path that you want to be on, and to choose wisely to, you know, try to find ways to protect yourself and your sanity as best as possible, while also pursuing things that you're passionate about. And, you know, there's no one right way to do any of this. Like I've tried so many things and failed at them. And I think we just have to support one another and our decisions. And really, like I said earlier, bring all of the women into the tent, and, you know, stop attacking each other and stop being so vicious. And everyone is lying to you. I joke that it's a takedown of tradwives, but it's not a takedown of tradwives themselves. It's a takedown of these ideologies, which are really very patriarchal and mostly created by men. And so, yeah, we just have to be way more supportive of one another every single day.
Joe, what a great way to finish. Joe Piazza, everyone. I'm so excited to have you on WECAN. I absolutely love how you show us such a joyful and fun way, a value-driven way of doing content and being so supportive of other women, but people in general, to come together because we are too divided as a world. Thank you,
Thank you.
Joe.